This is Y376 International Political Economy, November 6, 2008. There are some dissenters from the world is flat argument of our author Friedman, Tom Friedman. Stephen Roach, the chief economist at Morgan Stanley, said that globalization at this point in time is far more about disparities between nations than the assimilation of a flat world. And Richard Florida, currently professor at the University of Toronto, says, by any measure, the international economic landscape is not at all that flat. On the contrary, our world is amazingly spiky. Two of Rich Florida's books are The Rise of the Creative Class and The Flight of the Creative Class. Rich has been studying what makes companies locate in particular cities and regions, and is particularly interested in the most creative and productive entrepreneurial types of people. He also has noticed that economic activity tends to cluster in certain locations, and this map shows the clustering of economic activity in the United States. Obviously the East Coast and the West Coast, and somewhat around the Chicago region and a little bit in Texas. In China, economic activity tends to concentrate in the eastern part of China, and particularly in the major cities of Shanghai and Hong Kong. Beijing is also a major spike. Scientific activity tends to be spiky also. Most citations are for scientists in the United States or in Western Europe, and a lesser number in Japan. Asim Prakash and I have defined globalization as a set of processes leading to the integration of economic activity in factor, intermediate, and final goods and services markets across geographic boundaries, and the increased salience of cross-border value chains in international economic flows. The inventor of the idea of value chain was Michael Porter at the Harvard Business School. A value chain is more comprehensive than a supply chain because it extends backward to research and development and innovation, and forward to commercialization. Other ways of thinking about globalization include deterritorialization, convergence, and mythology or fad. Under the deterritorialization school, one looks at the decreasing importance of nation states and the boundaries between nation states, and so one could study things like diasporic communities, multinational corporations, and currencies that flow are used outside their home territories. In the convergence school, one looks at the movement towards some global or universal standard, which reduces diversity, particularly cultural diversity, and sometimes considered to be an unfortunate side effect of globalization. Under the mythology school, basically the idea is that globalization is a myth or a fad, and that it's not as important as people claim it is. This picture illustrates how one could study the deterritorialization of currencies. Here, one looks at countries that have adopted the dollar, at least temporarily, as a substitute for their domestic currency, which would obviously include Russia, Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador, and Panama. The chart itself shows the tying of currencies to either the dollar, which means green or yellow on the picture, and or to the euro, which is blue or purple. Arjun Appadurai, an anthropologist, has talked about globalization in terms of cultural landscapes, by which he divides into 5 components: ethnoscapes, mediascapes, technoscapes, financescapes, and idioscapes. Here he's looking at how ethnic phenomena, including diasporas, tend to go across borders more porously than the myth of the nation state would suggest, how media has become more transferable across borders, how technology is moving more easily, how finance, money, currency, etc., and Idioscapes is focused on ideas and ideologies. The study of diasporic communities includes any people or ethnic population forced or induced to leave their traditional homelands, the dispersal of such people, and the ensuing developments in their culture. Examples would be Jews, Cubans, Chinese, Pakistanis, Indians, etc. Global culture is studied in a variety of ways, including the study of branding and the creation of corporate logos, the spread of corporate logos as symbols of globalization. We have a bunch of things in the media world, such as the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire show, MTV, and various other kinds of programs that cross national borders, get slightly customized to appeal to different audiences, but are essentially the same show, just translated to a different culture, a different location. We also have the rise of world music, anime, manga, Pokemon, J-pop, Japanese pop in general. We have the spread of theme parks such as Disneyland and Disney World to other parts of the world. And in Hollywood, you have the example of the action movie, which appeals to people who don't speak English and therefore is a major source of Hollywood revenues. One question that the study of globalization raises is whether territorial-based systems will become obsolete. My short answer is no, that they may become less important relative to other types of systems, but the complex relationships among government and systems at different levels of aggregation, local, national, regional, etc., and non-territorial governance systems will have to be established.